Police are investigating Denver's fourth deadly hit and run in 11 days. Happened around 6:45 tonight on I-25 northbound near Downing. Police say several drivers hit a man walking on the highway. He was killed. Some of the drivers stayed at the scene, but police say one of them took off. Police have not shared any details yet about that driver or vehicle. Food truck owners were not the ones who fired guns in a crowded part of LoDo, injuring 6 people. That was Denver police who did that. But it's the food trucks being told they need to go in the interest of public safety.
Food truck owners who survive by operating outside of bars on weekends say the decision to ban them from the area isn't going to solve any problems, but it will drive out their business. Here's 9 News reporter Mark Salinger.
We've been in downtown since '95.
For years now, Sanyan Mutic has catered to the masses, streaming out of LoDo bars on weekend nights.
So my family owns several trucks. One of them is this beautiful Euro truck that sits up down here on Larimer Street.
For now, that's over.
We are the bottom of the totem pole. We are the easiest to kick out.
The city of Denver and the Denver Police Department say they found a solution to rising crime in LoDo. Sanyan's Euros and the rest of the food trucks are now banned from the area on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, forced to set up shop blocks away, far from the bars.
We're most likely looking at 30 to 40 families that rely on livelihood from down here.
It comes weeks after Denver police officers shot a man with a gun outside a LoDo bar. Officers injured 6 innocent bystanders, some who were waiting in line at a food truck. While police say the new rules will increase public safety by discouraging people from gathering outside bars.
As it stands right now, we're down to once a week.
Sanyan argues the ban also misses the target.
Reality is the crowds are still going to be here. They're still going to be drinking, partying. The police will still have to be involved and be responsible for keeping the peace down here.
Sanyan is from Bosnia, proud to be speaking up for a community of immigrant food truck owners he worries don't have a voice.
99% of the trucks down here are owned by immigrants, people who speak English, speak broken English, who have much more limited access to resources than a bar, a restaurant, a hotel down the street would.
Businesses feel pushed out on a street they rely on to survive. This isn't Denver Police's only strategy to try and control the crowds outside of LoDo bars. They tell me in the past several months they've installed new portable lights, closed down streets in the area to cars, and increased DUI patrols. Kyle, there are still questions surrounding the recent shooting in Denver with those police officers, including the department's refusal to release body camera video.
I hate to see anybody lose their livelihood through no fault of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's trying to go to city council. He was speaking in front of Denver City Council this past week. He's asking for help, but so far he hasn't gotten much response.
Mark Salinger reporting. Thank you, Mark.
The man police say killed his ex-girlfriend and her daughter in Larimer County was not supposed to have guns. Lindsay Dom had tried and failed to convince a court to take away Javier Acevedo's guns after a child sex assault allegation. Today we learned someone else did get a court order out of Denver that told Acevedo to turn in his weapons. Police say the woman killed in Loveland had filed for several protection orders before the murders. On September 1st of 2021, she asked for a protection order against Acevedo. She claimed he was violent towards her and her kids. And later that month, investigators say the court denied her a permanent protection order. She filed another request in June, about a month before police say he killed her. The court denied a permanent protection order a second time. Prosecutors did get an order telling Acevedo to stay away from the house and the kids, but it was a separate case out of Denver, the details of which we're still sorting out, where there was an unenforced order for him to turn in his guns.
Internal emails from the city of Englewood reveal more than the city currently wants the public to know about a deadly police shooting. More than a week after that shooting, Englewood police still will not say if officers killed a man they did not intend to shoot. Back on July 24th, police were called to a home where they said that someone then shot at them. Officers fired back. Police say the shooter inside the home survived and was arrested, but the man's brother was also there. He was shot and killed. The police department and city leaders have refused to answer questions about the shooting, citing in part a gag order that does not apply to Englewood city leaders. We obtained emails through an open records request. In one, the city manager suggested they release body camera video of the shooting last weekend. The city manager wrote, quote, "Police leadership is confident that the footage will help the public understand the chaotic nature of the incident and the difficulty in reaching a definitive conclusion." That video was not released last weekend.
Cell phone companies are making changes to make sure when people call 911 in Denver, they are connected to help in Denver. Neighbors have been telling police about the issues after a community leader in the Colfax neighborhood died from a stray bullet. Today, neighbors met with police and 911 officials in the basement of the building where Ma Kang called home. She died after being hit by a stray bullet from New Freedom Park back on July 15th. Neighbors say some of their 911 calls for help went to Aurora dispatchers. They had to wait to be transferred to Denver. Dispatch records show it took a little more than 5 minutes for help to arrive.
My mother got shot in the head and she is bleeding. They shouldn't have said this is the wrong department.
Denver 911 says 4 calls went to the wrong dispatch that night. They were all from Verizon and T-Mobile phones. Denver 911 says a Verizon tower was programmed wrong, sending at least 1 call to Aurora. Verizon is checking out its other cell towers near Denver's border to make sure that doesn't happen again. T-Mobile is changing how it routes 911 calls, basing it on a phone's GPS instead of the location of the cell tower. AT&T started making that switch back in May. Some people in East Colfax say they've also been hung up on or ignored by dispatchers who don't understand them because of a language barrier. At today's meeting, the 911 director said he'd look into that.
A fire in Aurora this afternoon severely damaged 3 homes. Happened in a neighborhood on East Whitaker Drive near Quincy Reservoir. There was very visible smoke plume on this one. Firefighters say no one there was hurt. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Newcastle's police chief has been fired after he got arrested for threatening a neighbor. Chief Tony Pagney was arrested over the weekend for felony menacing. He led the police department in that town of 4,000 people west of Glenwood Springs. Pagney's accused of placing the muzzle of a loaded rifle up against his neighbor's chest. Investigators say they think he was drunk at the time.
The EPA is warning people who live around one medical facility in Lakewood about harmful emissions that could cause health problems. They're concerned about people who live around Terumo Blood and Cell Technologies at Collins Avenue and Oak Street. That's a couple of blocks south of Colfax. The company uses a chemical called ethylene oxide. Long-term exposure can lead to cancer. They're not polluting more than they're allowed, but their low-level emissions are enough to concern the EPA. The EPA is worried about people in the areas in the blue closest to that facility. In 2018, the state health department said they didn't find more evidence of cancer cases in the community around the facility. CDPHE says it'll be decades before they know for sure whether neighbors are actually more likely to get cancer. The EPA will hold a community meeting for neighbors in October.
Families will be spending more to send their kids back to school this year. National Retail Federation says families with elementary and high school kids plan to spend an average of $864 on things like clothes and school supplies. That is $167 more than pre-pandemic averages. It's tough for families, but it's tough for teachers and organizations that are trying to stock classrooms. Here's 9 News reporter Jennifer Meckles.
Sure, I have 3 ring binders, Crayola markers, colored pencils.
The school supplies haven't changed.
24 Crayola colored pencils is $10.
But the cost and how teachers afford them
So I put together an Amazon wish list of my basic necessities.
definitely has changed.
So I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher with Aurora Public Schools.
Addie Howell just moved to Colorado and needs to fill her classroom.
And I posted that on all social media platforms that I have. And I was really fortunate to get the entire list filled by my family and friends and through reaching out to the families at my school as well. So I feel very grateful for that.
We did a survey a few years back asking educators how much they spend out of pocket. And it was over $700 on average. And, you know, this was a couple years ago. So certainly that cost has gone up.
Inflation has reached teachers too.
And it's certainly impacting kind of our donation supply chain.
Even the organizations helping families feel it.
$10 used to buy you 10 cans of soup or, 10 packs of markers, might only buy you 6 packs of markers now.
The Action Center in Lakewood kicked off its annual school supply drive Wednesday, offering backpacks full of supplies for low-income Jeffco families.
When you have to pick between making sure your kids are clothed or have school supplies and making sure your electricity stays on or you have the groceries, that's a hard choice. And we don't want any family to have to be put into that position.
Yeah, even this pack of sticky notes I noticed was like $14.
Addie's classroom
This list I would say was about $450.
will be fully stocked just in case one of her students isn't.
So if we can help with that in any way, shape, or form, again, very grateful for that.
Jennifer Meckles, 9 News.
Just so happens this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign, Next, is helping Aurora teachers like Addie. The district's nonprofit foundation has set up a kind of store where any Aurora school educator can go in and shop for free for whatever their students need. In the last few hours, you have raised more than $25,000 to stock that store with supplies this year and probably into next year. If you're able to help, and even $5 helps, scan a QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. The store stays open all school year, so Aurora educators can go in to get supplies for any new students who come to their classrooms. They can replace items as needed if families aren't able to afford them. Really appreciate everybody who's able to support those students and their families and those teachers in Aurora.
We're getting a new view of a bad fire in Nebraska, finally starting to settle down.
There's a new plan to cut down on robocalls by cracking down on the companies that let them get to your phone.
Believe it or not, a little cold front pushed across the state early this morning, but the heat returns as we look ahead toward the rest of the work week. Don't worry, I have some good news ahead for that weekend forecast. We'll see you on the other side of this break.